Welcome to our community forum to talk about the upcoming school board election. I'm Kathy Rosalvo, and I am the IPACE chair, election chair for the SPEA. I wanted to thank some people for coming. I know we have Allison Downs in the audience, who's a current board member. Oh. I see we also have, I just saw our administration walk in. Oh, and Tina Wanio is a current board member.
I didn't even see her.
I didn't see her either. Yeah.
We also have some current board members that are up on our panel today, so we'll be hearing from them. We also have, I saw that our administration just walked in, so Dr. Borshevsky, our superintendent, Dr. Kopta, principal at Washington, Ms. Maglione, assistant principal at Kennedy, Mrs. Kartzimis, principal at Kennedy, and Mrs. Stavro, principal here at Lincoln. I also wanted to introduce our SPEA executive board. Louise Stomper at our register to vote table in the back. Kathy Brandt is also here. Kathy Brandt works here in the district office. And I believe we have Gina Harris. I was looking for her. Gina Harris, who's our treasurer with SPEA. We have Chrissy Bulow, who's our secretary with SPEA. And that's what we've got today. So, and I'd like to thank all of the SPEA members who came today to be a part of this, as well as everybody else in the audience. I wanted to thank our candidates for coming and sharing our thoughts, sharing their thoughts with us today. We know that a school board member's job is a tough one, and over the past decade, we have seen some highly contested school board races. Each school board member is faced with many important issues and decisions when conducting school business. So no matter how difficult the challenges may be, we hope that they work together to support each other in order to do what's best for kids. As educators, members of the Schiller Park Education Association felt that we would like to give the community the opportunity to meet and get to know our current candidates. That's where the idea of this forum today came from. We wrote a grant and received money from the Illinois Education Association to bring this event to you tonight. We sat as an election committee and thought about what we had seen at board meetings over the past years. And we developed a list of what is important in our eyes to providing the best environment to educate students. First and foremost, we believe that we need to put kids first. The three areas we would like to see improvement in is trust, collaboration, and fiscal responsibility. These are the areas that we're going to be exploring tonight. Each of our 6 candidates were sent a survey in mid-January where they were asked why they wanted to run for District 81 School Board. After their surveys were returned, each candidate was scheduled for an interview with our election committee, which I would like to also recognize is Ashley Ladd, Amanda Peterson, and Casey Rosso. 4 of our candidates came to meet with the SPEA, and they are the 4 who are sitting in front of us tonight. Maryann Desecki, Jeremy Hargus, Rich Flanagan, and Paul Ohm. At these interviews, our committee asked questions that were based on our 3 focus areas: trust, collaboration, and fiscal responsibility. We were happy to hear about the passion and experience of our current and veteran board members, as well as excitement and plans of those that are running for the first time. Tonight, each of the candidates have prepared a statement about why they are running for school board. Then the SPEA has prepared questions around our 3 focus areas. They are similar to the questions that were asked in their interviews. When the question and answer session is over, we invite you to mingle with the candidates in an informal open house. I'm sure they'll be happy to answer questions for you. On your tables, you will find 2 handouts, 3 handouts actually. The first one identifies the current Board of Education and the candidates running in the April 7th election. Another one is the basic job description of the school board. We learned a lot even during those interviews of what it is like to have what it's like to be a part of the board. You can see that our local school board is responsible for setting the policies of our district. You can find a copy of our policies on the district's website. It's long and very comprehensive, but a few examples of policies are listed here for you. Many of them were things that we've seen come up in board meetings over the past few years. The second handout, or the third handout, is really from the candidates themselves. We asked each of the 6 candidates to provide a candidate statement and a photo. 4 of our candidates responded and are listed here in alphabetical order. We left the back blank for you if you'd like to take some notes, and we hope that you find this event informative and helpful as we begin this election season. In the back, we will have the ability for you to register to vote if you are not registered to vote. We also know that we wanted to encourage people to have, there is the opportunity to have mail-in ballots and also early voting so that you have the time to get to it. We make sure that that's a priority. We'd also like you to come and see the Facebook page. SPEA has a Facebook page where you can get more information, and we'll be looking at some issues within education in general. Also, there is a paper at the in the back where you can write your name on it, and that will be a raffle. And we're looking for any comments that you would have about this evening that you would be interested in sharing. So, without further ado, I think I've spoken enough. We're going to go ahead and we're going to let the candidates speak. We're going to have each of them give a statement right now. Okay. We are going to start with Rich. He picked the seat closest to the microphone, so Rich Flanagan's going to go ahead and get started.
Well, I guess I'd like to tell you why I'm running for school board, and I have to tell you my reasons haven't changed, but they have evolved. I originally ran for school board 4 years ago because my oldest child was in 7th grade and my youngest child was in 5th grade, and I was looking at the quality of education that they were getting. I was looking at the homework that they were bringing home. I was looking at how excited they were about the things that they were learning. And when they came to me and said, you know, you would probably do really well on the school board, I thought to myself, okay, all of these other school board members have brought this education to my children. I think it's only right that I step up to the line and continue the high quality of education that my children got. I mean, I was very impressed with the things that they were learning, not just the everyday science and math, which is actually exemplary compared to my own grade school education, but also the extracurricular activities, the sports and the music. I was actually educated in a Catholic school in Wrigleyville, which now is a affluent neighborhood, but then was not so great of a neighborhood to grow up in. But there were no sports, there was no music. We had science once a week. The math that I learned was the same math that I had been learning from 1st grade on. They just kept adding a digit, adding a digit. To see my children come home with algebra homework, to see my children come home talking about cell walls and plants, and that's astounding for grade school students. So I felt that it was my duty to step up and continue the high quality of education for other children and all of the children of Schiller Park. Now, why am I running again? Because my job's not done. I have to protect that quality of education, and I'm going to stay here until I feel it's safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy?
So roughly a little under 2 years ago, we started attending school board meetings. We were kind of heard some things that we were kind of concerned about and wanted to see it for ourselves. Up until that point, we were parents that kind of took it for granted. We took education for granted. We wanted to see for ourselves what was going on and if there was anything that we could help with. The school district is a fantastic school district. Our children have benefited greatly from the education. My stepchildren have flourished in ways that I don't think they could have elsewhere. My stepson had his education just skyrocket. He's an honor roll student in high school now. My stepdaughter, honor roll student in high school. It's fantastic. And to hear some of the stories that were going on and things that were happening, I wanted to get involved. When it was time to start looking for people to run, I felt that I could help. I felt that I could help with my passion or my interests in trying to help improve in any way I can, give back to the community, just be an active member of the community and help with the school board. As most of you know, everybody in here knows that there's a lot of things going on, and we have to get the school board back to 7 people working together for a goal, and that goal is education of children. To stop the stagnant status that we have right now in the district and start improving, start supporting the teachers, start supporting the administration to do the things that we all know they can do and to excel in the ways that we know they can. It just felt like it was my duty. I had no choice, really. I know I feel the same way as Mr. Flanagan and with his statements about education and how different it is now from when we were growing up. And things are fantastic. They're amazing. I wish I had the education that our children get now in this district.
Totally.
It's unbelievable. The things I could have done in my life would have been fantastic. Not that I think my life is bad, but that's my main reason. That's why I felt like I had no choice but to, throw my name in the hat, so to speak. My commitments and my goals are to the education of the children in this district and supporting the people who know how to educate. I am not an educator, I'm not a teacher, but without the support of the school board, the teachers can't do their job. The administration can't do their job. And we may not agree. If I get on the school board, I know there's times that we won't agree. But level-headedness and the willingness to see everybody's point of view will be unbelievably successful. And I think that's the potential this board could have.
Thank you. Maryann?
Hi, first of all, thank you so much for coming out. It's really so nice to actually see our citizens come out and be interested in this. As you all know, I've been on the board a number of years. I've worked with a lot of transitions in the school district. One of them being this beautiful building you're sitting in. Another one being bringing our special education children back to the district. I was very, very proud of the work I did in 12 years. It was wonderful to see our kids start to be the smart kids, the bright kids, the well-rounded children. There's not 10 kids in band anymore. There's hundreds of kids in band. And these things were just wonderful to start to see. My children have gone through this school district. 3 of my children have gone through this school district. Unfortunately, my 4th one wasn't able to because we didn't bring special ed back yet. But nobody benefited more from this district than my 3 children, as most everybody knows. And it was so nice to see how great everything is coming along. The school, the district, the students' grades. And not that I profess to have any big thing to do with students' grades. I don't. But I always felt that a cohesive, good school board is a trickle-down theory. We have one employee. We employ the superintendent, and we employed two since I've been here, and we have a great one now. Unfortunately, in the last couple of years, things have started to deteriorate. There's no other way to put it. We've lost a number of great teachers. We've lost almost our entire special ed department. And it just makes you sick when you realize how things change so quickly. And I feel like Rich, like Jeremy, we have a lot to do. And I want to make sure I help the kids in this village get back to a point that we are unbelievable. And I really want to say that with our support of 7 people, 1 voice, supporting our superintendent, who then supports the administration, who then supports the teachers, there's nothing we can't do. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul.
Good evening. My name is Paul Ohm. First, I want to thank the SPEA for having me and for going through this process. I was excited when I got the letter, and part of why I'm doing this is, you know, I grew up in this area, and we moved here in 1984. I was in 7th grade, and it's kind of interesting for me to sit, although it wasn't in this particular gym, it was the Lincoln Junior High gym that I first went to. And I struggled a little bit when we moved here, because I was a new kid in school, and I was really happy where we lived in Chicago by Diversity and Central. And I struggled at school, but the teachers didn't quit on me, and the school district didn't quit on me. And when I went to Leiden, I had great teachers and coaches who formed who I became in life. People like Charles Farina and Tim Rudiger and Jack Leese, who made sure who grabbed my report card before my dad got it to make sure my report card was good. So I've always had a special place in my heart for teachers and coaches and people like that, and the influence that they have on kids and their growth. After September 11th, I joined the military. I was in it for 5 years. I did 3 tours in Afghanistan, 2 in Iraq. I was an Army Ranger, and it was an incredible honor to serve my country and be part of that and to give at that time what I could give. You know, after the attacks, it was pretty crazy. I was in good shape. I didn't have a wife or kids, so I felt it was, you know, my duty to go. At this point, as I look at my past, as my professional career has grown, when I came back, I took an entry-level position at a security company, being a field manager, because there wasn't much being offered to me as an infantry grunt. But I progressed, and now I'm the Director of Operations at the University of Chicago for security, one of the top 5 largest accounts in all of the country regarding security. So I'm at the point in my career where I feel now it's time to give back again. I have 2 young daughters, a 3.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. My wife also grew up in the neighborhood and went to Kennedy and Lincoln and Leiden. My brother and sister went to Kennedy, Lincoln, and Leiden. So in staying in line with giving back and taking the assets that I have and turning them into a positive for the community and hopefully make this a better place. I tend to come to the board, provide leadership, provide direction, take direction, work with each board member, work hard, make sure I do my due diligence, so when I make votes that they're educated and have facts behind them, and that's my intent. So I appreciate everybody coming out, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions. So thank you very much.
Okay, for the next section of our forum, we are going to ask the candidates some questions. We told them that the questions are going to be very similar to the questions that were asked at their interview. All of these are going to be focused around the areas that we have talked about: trust, collaboration, and fiscal responsibility. Ashley Ladd led our interviews, so she is going to lead our question and answer today.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. Our first question, I think we're going to start off with Paul, since we started our statements with Rich. So our first question is on the topic of trust. So a higher than average number of faculty and staff resigned in the past year. What can the school board do to retain quality teachers?
I think it's a school board's role in maintaining the district in a lot of capacities, and in specific regards to the teachers, is making sure that the environment they work in, that they have the tools that they need, that children have the opportunities that they need to succeed. So it's the board's job to ensure that happens. And how do we do that? We talk to the teachers. We form a relationship. You build a bridge and talk to the administration to find out what the needs are. And, you know, again, when I said it's a lot of work, it's a lot of work. It's going and talking to other districts, finding out what they're doing. You know, maybe some districts like, you know, Norwich, that has a 97% retention rate. Find out what they're doing. What are the key programs that they're working out? Maybe talk to some of their teachers, and then bring that information back to the district and see how we can form it into the parameters and the assets that we have to move forward. So, you know, find out where the problems are. When teachers leave, have an exit interview. Find out why they're leaving. Get information from them. In my company, if somebody leaves, we sit down and we talk to them. We ask them sustains. We ask them improves, and we try to fix it for the people who are there and the people who are coming down the road.
All right, thank you. Maryann, would you like to answer next?
Sure. And I do understand we've had a larger than normal exodus from the education side. Understanding that it's the board's role to hire the superintendent, and for us to support the superintendent, all is one voice, 7 people supporting one person, who then supports the administration, who then supports the teachers. We don't have that now. So I think what we have to get back to is being able to say we support everybody who works in this building, everybody who works in Washington, everybody who works in Kennedy. Unconditionally, we want to support our people. We want to support them as one board. We don't want to support them when it's convenient. And we want to make sure not to shield them, not to shield anybody, but to make sure that they understand that there is a shield. There is a shield here. And we want to be that shield. We want to make sure that all our teachers know that from the board down, you have nothing but our support. And I think for a couple of years, they didn't know that. They don't have that because we are not giving it to them as a whole. And it's very, very hard to work someplace where you're not feeling, I think, that you have the support of the uppermost crust here. And in order to get that back, we have to let them know that they are very, very important to us. And that there would never be any reason whatsoever that anybody would say anything about you, any of you, at one of our meetings. That would never happen, and it should never happen. Unfortunately, it has. So I just want everybody to know that we would support the superintendent. With that support, we expect the superintendent to support the administration, and we expect the administration to support our teachers and staff and anybody else. Thanks.
Thank you. Jeremy, would you like to answer next?
Well, first I want to add there's pros and cons to being in the front and at the end of answering questions. I kind of mirror a little bit of what Mr. Ohm and Maryann have said. My thought is to keep it simple at first and grow from there. When people leave, there's a reason why they leave. Some of that leaving is progression of careers. Some of that leaving is also unhappiness with their work environment. We can't change it, can't fix it if we don't know what's wrong. Also understanding that exit interviews are often biased. Maybe people are just happy to go, they just want to get going, or they don't want to hurt people's feelings. But it's a start. Also, continuing, not just waiting till it's too late, waiting till it's too late when they leave, when the staff is already gone or already in a mood where they're not going to stay, they're just done. We have to get to the problems before that. And if we don't talk to the teachers, if we don't talk to the administration, we'll never get there. We'll never be able to figure out what's wrong and what needs to be changed. It basically, to me, it's that simple, and you have to start in the simplest part and work your way up from there.
All right, thank you. And Rich?
Management 101, there are pretty much two reasons why employees leave. Either it's for ultimately more money, or it's for respect. I'm afraid that our district has failed when it comes to respect. We have allowed our employees, or I should say, the board's employee is Kim, but we have allowed the district employees to feel as if they weren't valued, to feel as if they were replaceable, to feel that we didn't respect the things they did, the education that they got, the continuing education that they take every year to maintain their status as excellent teachers. And we failed because of a change of dynamic on the board. These folks no longer felt respected. They no longer felt protected. An employer's first job is to pretty much side with the employee until you find out otherwise. There are numerous examples these past couple of years where there was an immediate feeling of, well, they're guilty until proven innocent. Well, when employees see that, they start looking. And I don't blame them for looking, but I do have to tell you something. The school board has to vote to accept every resignation of every employee of the district. And every single one of those, I hated to have to vote yes. I was forced to vote yes, but I didn't want those people to leave. Those people educated my children. Those people are educating your children, and they care about the education of your children. And I feel horrible for having failed them. And I am going to make sure that I don't fail them any longer.
Thank you. Okay, for this next question, we'll start with Maryann. It's on the topic of collaboration. Sometimes the school board has issues come before it in which parents disagree with district policy. How would you approach these types of situations?
Well, first of all, there's always going to be, you put 1,400 children's parents together in a district, you're going to have some issues that arise. But again, we have a policy. We have a policy on how we handle any kind of an investigation. We have investigators at the schools. The investigators investigate. They come to us with recommendations. We have policy set for this. We've gone outside policy a few times lately because we had no choice, but we do have policies for investigations. Now, if it gets up to the point where there's a hearing with the school board, where we've gotten our investigation results, we've gotten everything we can from our employee, the superintendent, there are going to be times a parent does come up to us. We listen to that parent. That parent is one of our children's parents. But again, we follow all our policy when it comes to an investigation or an issue that a parent brings forth. A parent wants to bring forth, I can't even, an issue where they want to go to our schools, but they live in a different village. We've set the policy. 7 of us have set a policy for this. These are things you have to take on a case-by-case basis, but understand that we're not the first avenue of any kind of dispute. We're the last avenue. And it's up to us to follow what we've done as a board in policy and work with our investigators.
Thank you. Jeremy?
Where to begin with this one? There's a lot of issues that come up being a parent in a district, as we all know. In most cases, those issues can be resolved by administration, by the teachers themselves, before it even gets to a school board level. If approached as a school board member, I think it's our responsibility to listen. But as an individual school board member, I do not feel that I have any power to make that change. We as a whole, as 7 individuals, should be able to come together through just common courtesy and respect of each other, hear everybody's differences, their views, and come to a decision. If it's something that doesn't need an investigation, it can be brought forward. If it hasn't been dealt with at an administrative level or at the actual teacher's level, we can look at it as a group. But as an individual, I don't have any ability to make those changes, but I would be very happy to listen to anybody that has to say anything and try and come up with a solution.
Thank you. Rich?
Okay. Policies. I'm on the policy committee right now, and I have to tell you, if you ever read any of these policies, it cures insomnia, okay? It's all lawyer speak, it's incredibly complex stuff, but they were written to protect our district. They were written to protect the citizens of our district and the money that they give us to run these schools. The reason these policies exist is because they have determined that anything outside of these policies could leave us open for lawsuits down the line, discriminatory lawsuits, just any number of different things that can be brought to court and take money ultimately away from the education of the children. One of the first things that the Illinois Association of School Boards tells you is if you are approached on the street by a parent who wants to talk to you about something, it is perfectly acceptable to listen, but one of the first questions you're supposed to ask them is, have you brought this to the district's attention? If they say no, it is okay to politely listen, but you will tell them exactly what they should be doing, which is bringing it to the district's attention. There is a line of order that they have to go through. If they have a problem with their teacher, they need to talk to the teacher first. If they don't feel that they are being listened to by the teacher, they need to bring it to the principal next. If they don't feel that they are being listened to by the principal, then they contact the district office. If then, and I doubt this ever really happens, if they don't get listened to by the district office, then it's the school board's job to step in and talk. There are reasons behind this, and the biggest reason is I did not go to school to become an educator. They all did. There are reasons behind these decisions. There are reasons behind these policies. I am a layman that has been asked by my community, based on what they feel is their same level of common sense, to come in and help govern this school district and make sure that the money that is given to us is used in the absolute proper manner. The policies are there to protect you, to protect your money. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Paul?
With the subject being, collaboration, I think if, any kind of board position or any type of, position of it, being elected or appointed, it's a leadership position. And with that, you're identified as someone in the community that people can come to for problems. Someone may call you, someone may come knock on your door. But, and we have to be willing to, and open to that. Some people don't feel comfortable in a large setting, coming to a board and speaking on a microphone. Some people may have a better relationship with you just being a neighbor, but we need to be the conduit for them for the fix to their problem. And I think it's important for us to know where to go for those problems, the policies, the procedures. We have to understand what that is. If there's a policy that's outdated or not effective or not working, then we need to work together as a board to make sure it works. So I think having that communication and being that leader in the community, that someone knows that this is where I can go to ultimately find the end result to my question is really important. But you also, as you know, the other candidates have stated, that it is, you know, it's not an individual thing, that you do have support, and there is a process to go through, and then you would take that individual and bring them through that process and help them forward. So absolutely, it's collaborative, and building relationships is important. So,
Okay, thank you. Okay, this next question is on the topic of fiscal responsibility, and I think we'll start with Jeremy. What would you prioritize in a budget?
Education. There's a lot of things just from my studying, reading, trying to get as much information I can from the policies that Mr. Flanagan, wow, like this.
It is a book.
Education is the main goal, and we have to ask ourselves, every vote or everything that comes up has to be asked, how does this affect education? And that's where the budget comes in, where that fiscal responsibility comes in. Is the money being appropriately spent? Is it being wasted? Is it being applied towards things that will benefit the education of the 1,300 plus children in this district? Education of our children is the future of this country and this planet. And everything the school board decides should have that in mind, education.
All right, thank you. Rich?
All right. The price of lights isn't going to go down. The price of gas isn't going to go down. The price to maintain this building is not going to go down. So a certain amount of money that we get every year is already earmarked to keep these buildings warm, to keep the water flowing, to keep the electricity on. Another large chunk of that money goes to the staff. And we have to maintain a ratio of students to teacher that enables our children to get that amount of individual attention that they need to excel as students. When it comes to fiscal responsibility, I'm going to say that we have to maintain the buildings, we have to maintain the children's education. That's the main two things that the tax dollars are going to, but we also have to maintain a bit of extra to enrich our children with the extras that really round out a child's education. The music, the sports. I know that those are usually the first things cut, and there's a reason behind macaroni and cheese. So, as a school board member, we have to make those tough decisions about where the money's going to go, where we're going to get the money from, how is this going to affect our town, and how do we divide up the money that we get. Thank God we have experts doing budgets for us, making recommendations for us. But the two main things that can never stop, that can never change, are the money has to go to the buildings and the money has to go to the staff to maintain that ratio with the kids. So I agree with Jeremy. Education.
Thank you. Paul?
You know, budgets are always fluid things, and priorities, you know, line item priorities change. I think it's important, obviously, probably the most thing is tools for the teachers and opportunity for the children. And if the opportunity's a music class or gym class, or the opportunity's having a book that they can open and read, depending on the situation and depending how, again, just the fluidity of the situation, that's when you determine what your priorities are. An example would be the smart boards that are growing in. You're getting more smart boards in, and they're great tools, but we want to make sure we're using them as effectively as possible. I remember back when I was still in Chicago, I went to St. Ferdinand's grade school, and I remember when we got the Apple IIc in, and there was one Apple IIc for like 3 classrooms. And you went on a list, and when your name came up, you got to go on there and play that little mathematics Star Wars game. And it was like, I could not wait until my name came up on the list. But was that the most effective way to use an Apple IIc computer? You know, I don't know. And I think as technology comes out, I think we have greater opportunities to get more education to our kids, but we got to make sure we're using them effective. If something costs, you know, $3,000, we really need to assess, are we getting, you know, the optimal effectiveness out of it. So when it comes to prioritizing and, you know, something may look nice and shiny and new, but if you're not using it effectively, or the teachers don't know how to implement that tool, then you're not getting the most out of it. So I think the priority would change with, okay, this is a great item, but are we gonna be able to train the teachers on how to utilize that item to its greatest use? And if the answer is no, then we don't go with that, we go with something else. So the priority, again, is always tools for teachers and opportunities for children, and then how you get it fluctuates as situations and technology dictate.
Thank you.
Yep.
Maryann.
I'm the only one left, right? First of all, I want everybody to understand the budget process here at District 81 is a complex tool. We have tools that the teachers and administrators use to request different things for the budget. I want to say it's called EPERT, but I could be wrong. It starts out as a request. It moves up to the administration, and there may be requests that are no and requests that are yes. Moves up through the finance office into the district office, and there's probably some no and some yes. By the time it reaches us, the teachers do know what they're asking for, and they know how to use it, and they know how to deal with it, and they can read it, and they can do whatever's needed. So by the time it gets to us, we're at a point where we're going to look it over for a final review. I'm going to be very honest with you. Our very first concern is this best for the children? Is what we're going to spend the best for the children? And that's where we go, be it education, be it band, be it this building. I mean, where you can, your first thought is always going to be for what's best for the education of a child. And by the time it gets to us, we have a finance committee, we have the administration. It's taken its toll from May all the way through the end of the year before it gets to us. And it's been vetted to the point you wouldn't believe. I've seen the beginning one, and I've seen the real one. So it's been vetted. Also, our finance committee consists of citizens of this village, not just board members. So it's not just us sitting up here saying, we're going to go for this. We've got committee members who are actually on the board and say, okay, what is this? Why are we doing this? And by the time it gets to us, we know, really and truly, it's been vetted for children. And that's our question. Is this really what's best for the kids? And that's where we end it. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, this will be our final question, and we'll start with Rich. What have you done or plan to do to support the community of District 81?
What have I done? I don't like to blow my own horn, okay? I will say this. I enjoy the service that I give to the town. I enjoy being a school board member. Not because of any kind of weird perks or anything that you get out of this job, because believe me, there's not a lot of perks to this job, all right? I do it because my parents were volunteering kind of people. I went to a Catholic grade school, and they volunteered. They were on the Mother's Club and on the Father's Club. My father was a scout leader. And I later became a scout as well. And one of the things that they taught you in scouts was about a concept called citizenship. And citizenship isn't just, I live in this country, therefore I'm a citizen. Citizenship in scouting teaches you that there were people before you that sacrificed things so that you could reap the benefits of those sacrifices. You could have a better life because of the life and the things and the deeds that they did before you. And if you are a good citizen, you will continue that tradition on. There's a gentleman in the audience here, Wayne Desecki, who I think should be nominated for sainthood in this area because of all of the volunteering. Because of all of the volunteering that he does, because of the time sacrifice that he makes for the children of this town and Franklin Park, and no lines are drawn with that man. No lines are drawn for children. He's there to help. And I look at the volunteering that my parents did. I look at people like Wayne. I look at people like Maryann. I've been doing this for so long. I have to keep doing this. I have to, because it's what being a good citizen is all about.
Thank you. All right. Paul.
To start with, my neighbor's snowblower went out this week, and I snowblowed his driveway 3 times on the same night, so
That was hard work.
that was hard work. No, obviously, it's kind of in my nature as well, and I think all of us are probably in the same boat. I grew up in this neighborhood. It was a great place to grow up. I mean, it was like a rush to get out there when I was growing up. Who could get out there first to plow the other guy's front lawn or front walkway when it snowed? That's the kind of neighbors that we had. That's the kind of community this was. When I first thought of doing this, I kind of threw it out to a few friends, and it was interesting. I got phone calls from people that I probably hadn't seen since high school. Some of them were like, "Are you out of your mind?" And some of them were like, "Yeah, go do it. It'll be great." But that sense of community kind of came back, and it was really a good feeling to kind of get everybody's input and hear what people had to say. So, for me, it's giving back. I feel again completely honored to have been able to serve my country in the capacity I did. I feel completely blessed to have the family I do. I feel in leading by example. I want my children to lead, to be leaders, and I think being involved and showing them that when you want something, you got to work for it and you got to get involved. So I guess what I'm going to give to the community is just 110% of my effort, just as I do to my family, just as I do with my work. I'm going to do my due diligence. I'm going to do the research. I'm going to make sure that when I make a vote or have an opinion, it's going to be well thought out and well researched. So my pledge to the community is to give 110% at all times. Thank you.
Thank you. Maryann.
So what have I done for the village? I'm going to end up crying because I think, especially when I look out here, I mean, there's girls in the audience here who slept over at my house. And look at them now. They're teachers. They're in charge of SPEA. I think to myself, I helped that. These girls played on my softball teams. They played on my baseball teams, Ariel, because I couldn't get somebody to play on my baseball team. Kathy, I don't know how long spent at my, and I know these girls, and I've worked with them. And I see them growing up now. I've handed some of them their diplomas, just being on this board. And I want to think that my little bit of help being on this school board and offering this district anything I can possibly offer it has helped these kids get where they are. My biggest thing has always been, and always will be, long after I'm gone, the children of this village are going to run this village. And I think the best thing we can do for them is give them a foundation that sets them off in rockets, so that no matter what, nobody is ever, ever, ever sorry they came out of Schiller Park. Thanks.
And Jeremy.
Well, let me start at the beginning, though. My family always beat it into me, community service, any way you can. My first Halloween costume at 5 years old was a pair of fatigues. Every year that uniform got a little bit better until I joined the military. My grandfather was in the Navy, my father was in the Army. It was giving back to your country was part of my upbringing. It was basically the main part of my upbringing. Community service builds that sense of community. When you volunteer, you get a better sense of who the people are that live with you, or near you, whether you like them or not. They're your family. They're your extended family. We all have to look out for each other. The ABC group has become my house. I'm sure there's a few other people in this room that can attest to the same thing. It becomes a love. Giving back to the community becomes a love. Like Paul said too, that the military is the same thing. It's just, it's what you feel you have to do. Mr. Flanagan said that too, and Allison, everybody here feels the same way. We all choose how we give back our own way. The school board is just a little piece of it. We just have to keep giving to the community, and you give back, it comes back tenfold in our futures.
All right, thank you very much.
If I could just add one more thing. Every time those kids go up and perform music for the school board, or actually any of the shows that I get to come and attend, that's big payback right there.
That is payback.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much for coming and sharing with us some of your thoughts, and should be a good election season. Thank you all for joining us. There is lots of food here. I would also like to let everybody know that we will be posting this portion of the program on the SPEA Facebook page. It'll be on the YouTube page, and you will be able to find that if you come and subscribe to our Facebook page. Or you can search this as well.